Hello and welcome to 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your producer, Jeremiah Long, and joining me to talk about the Missouri Tigers college football team for 2021 is a man who needs no introduction, but we give him one every Monday morning. His name is Logan Landers. How's it going, brother?
Hey, what's going on, Jeremiah? Another great Monday. Per usual, we're doing a great team preview today. Like you said, the Missouri Tigers in the SEC. Ready to get to it.
Absolutely. And the SEC is back. This new season coming up is going to be another great season for the SEC. I've always followed SEC football because, I grew up in high school around the Tennessee Vols, and I was around in 98, and watching the Sea of Orange and everything and seeing them be dominant during their heyday of that time. And hopefully there'll be another heyday soon. But the Missouri Tigers have, another team that their fandom really has seen some ups and downs. They've had some incredible players come through in the last few years, and they've really tried to make their mark. And this next season is going to be back to conventional football with the fans in the seats and all the the sounds and the fanfare. And so I cannot wait to see what Missouri Tigers are doing this year. So Mr. Landers, please tell us what's going on with the Missouri Tigers and what do the fans have to look forward to?
Yeah, so all in all, last year, like you said, with all the COVID craziness going on throughout the entire college football nation, Missouri, they did mediocre. They were 5-5, 500. You can't ask, you're right in the middle. So you can go up, of course. But it is going to be a little bit of a challenge for this team. They lost a few really good players to the draft or transfers, but they got a good crop of talent that are coming in and a good head coach with Mr. Elijah Drinkwitz, who's went 17-6 overall in his 2 years at Missouri. So you got a pretty strong head coach who's done a good job in his 2 years with a solid winning record. So hopefully you can build off of that going into 2021. And like I said, this team is pretty solid. They have a good crop of young players who are ready to break out, get a few more wins, and we'll see how Missouri can do this year. So let's start with the offense because that is the focal point for pretty much every single team we talk about. If you don't have an offense, you're pretty much drowning in the SEC or anywhere else in football. So like I said, their football, it was good. Connor Bazelak, absolutely phenomenal quarterback. He's looking like he could take a big step. We'll have to see. But he is going to be a keeper, though, man. He's done a lot of good work. But something I like to touch on, man, is the running game. Because while it wasn't great in the games that they needed to win against subpar competition, when they ran over 180 yards, this team went 4-0. So they did good whenever they got the running game going, but it just was not consistent enough against the better teams in football. So hopefully they can improve on that this year. You spread it across the board evenly throughout their schedule instead of just the teams they're supposed to beat, 15-0, 30-0, anything like that. So hopefully they can spread the love to some of the other teams. But like I said, with Connor Bazelak, who did great, and with an offense who did phenomenal. They got around 400 yards a game, 27 points. That's pretty solid. But the reason they went 5-5 wasn't because of the offense was kind of lackluster. It was because the defense just couldn't keep up, man. Especially last year, like we saw with teams playing all conference schedules, it was tough against Missouri. They faced all the powerhouses in the SEC. So hopefully they get a break this year, and they can hopefully that defense can flesh out a little bit more. But back to the offense, though, like I said, Bazelak's going to be your starter. He did solid this year. The receiving core he's going to be thrown to should be pretty fine. You lost a few guys. You lost Damon Hazelton because he graduated. You lost Jalen Knox because he went over to transfer. But it's hard, though, because you got Kike Chisholm, who's coming in, and he's a 6'4" target. Looks great. He had 35 catches this previous year, so he's solid. You also have Dove, who's also got a 6'3" frame. He's got a lot of upside, though. So those are two of your main guys who he's going to be thrown to as well. And also a guy they got from the transfer portal, Mr. Mookie Cooper, coming over from the Ohio State University. That's going to help them out as well. So their passing game is looking good. They got a good crop of receivers, and the quarterback has been pretty good. So overall, that's doing great. The O-line, though, that might be a little bit shaky, but we'll have to see because you're going to have some guys that are going to be shuffling around. You lost a few guys to the draft, like Larry Borum, who went to the Chicago Bears, I believe. So he's gone. You got to find someone to replace him. But it's all right, though, because you got some good veterans that are right there who got some experience who can help you out. You got Michael Mieti, you got Case Cook. So you've got some guys who have been there and who know how this O-line works against tough SEC opponents. And I think that the O-line is going to hold up just fine this year. I wouldn't worry too much about that. And, of course, they're going to be blocking for that running game. That's the big key, like I spoke about in the opening. If the running game, like I said, they went 4-0 and they ran for over 180 yards. So can they recreate that offense? We'll have to see. So Tyler Beatty, he did solid, about 5 yards a carry. That's not bad at all. You also have Elijah Young back there with him, who's going to be putting up some good work as well. So overall, I think the offense is going to do just fine, I think. So, like you said, you have a good quarterback, a solid offensive line, some good receivers, and a pretty good running game. As long as you can keep it throughout the entire season and not just a few games, you just see some flashes. I think this Missouri Tigers offense could be pretty solid. But like I said, the big key for them isn't really much their offense. It's more of their defense, because defense just flat out, it got destroyed pretty much last year. And with an all SEC schedule facing teams like the Floridas, Georgias, Alabama, so on and so forth, man, it's hard to compete against that when, you're Missouri and you have had a lot of success in the past. But, man, whenever you're going through any type of rebuilding process or you're just not having a good year going up against those teams who seemingly never have to go through that, it feels like, it's just a tough challenge. But overall, though, Missouri, they can only build off of last year. Because, like I said, they gave up over 400. They did, like I said, they gave up 400 points, 32 points per game. That led to a brand new defensive coordinator. They're getting Steve Wilkes, who was former head coach with the Arizona Cardinals, and who's been a defensive coordinator really since the mid-'90s against a plethora of great teams, whether it be college or the NFL. So you're getting a veteran guy who's coming in, who's going to try and revamp this defense, get something new. So I think that with a brand new kind of mindset, brand new defensive coordinator, I think this Missouri Tigers defense could get a shot in the arm and could really kind of help out this year, I think. So that could really help out. But it's not going to be easy. You're losing a lot of big pieces on your defense, like Nick Bolton, who was one of the best, defensive players drafted this past year. And you also lost Markel Uzi to our guy, Mr. Football Vince Turner, one of his favorite teams, the University of Arkansas. So he's gone. You lost Nick Bolton. So you got to find a few guys to replace him. Well, luckily, you don't got to look too far. You have Kobe Whiteside. They're looking solid. You have Akil Byers as well. Those are two of the guys on the inside who are going to help out that defense tremendously. And also, let's not forget Trajan Jeffcoat, who's an all-SEC pass rusher. So those three guys, I think, need to kind of take the next big leap in terms of helping out this defense. While, yeah, they've been great, they got to take that next level and just ascend a little bit above if they want to help out this defense this upcoming season. Like I said, you lost Nick Bolton, who was probably the best linebacker in the SEC. So that's going to be tough to replace, but it's all right, though. You got Devin Nicholson. He's a good guy. He's 230 pounds. He's going to help out a little bit. And also you got a guy from Rice, Mr. Blaze Aldridge, who's coming over, who's going to help out as well. So hopefully those two guys can kind of, help up, step up, and get that production that you're losing with Nick Bolton, who was, like I said, one of the best linebackers, not just in the SEC, but pretty much all of college football. So you got to find those replacements, but I think it's all right, though. Let's talk about the secondary, the corners and the safeties. Hey, they got a bunch of veterans back there, but just being a veteran it's not one thing, man. You got to get your production up, and you got to move and get a little bit better. It's all right, though. There's got a lot of upside, though. You got Jelani Williams at the safety spot, who's going on with Martez Manuel. So you got two guys who are veterans who have been with this system, but you just got to step up production just a little bit more, I think. And that's really like it is, like I mentioned for the whole video so far. Just this team has flashes of good potential, but it just needs to be more consistent throughout the entire season and not just a few short games. So you've got a lot of guys. You got veterans. You got a good mix of young guys. Also, you got Enos Rakestraw as well, who's a freshman corner last year, had 24 tackles. So overall, man, this offense is solid. The defense could use a little bit of work, but I think that overall, man, Missouri's got, if you're going into this 2021 season, I feel pretty confident because you're not facing that tough of a schedule. You're facing, more teams outside of the SEC, thankfully, so you don't have to worry about that. Looking here at their schedule here, they start off week 1 against Central Michigan. And a few of the tough teams I see, of course, we got your team, Tennessee, of course, going in October. And I see Texas A&M. That's going to be a tough one. Georgia in November. Florida in November as well. But, I mean, other than that, they face a lot of teams who, honestly, they should win against. So I don't see another sub-500 season. I see these guys getting above the 500 mark. I don't see them getting into the SEC championship quite yet, though. But I do see them improving, getting a few more wins. So overall, man, I think this team is solid going into this year. And if you're a Tigers fan, don't worry about the 500 record last year. Hey, that was you got to play with the hand, the cards you're dealt, as they say. So I think this year they're going to be fine. They're going to get above that 500 record. If you're a Tigers fan, that's about all you can ask for, man.
That's all you can ask for. And with a team like this, coming deep back into it, they've got some high priorities to make some moves and to make some noise. And I mean, it's the SEC, so I will tell you this, the Missouri Tigers weren't a team that I was following super closely a couple years ago, and then boom, they started making some moves. And so it's one of those teams that, like, you may have not had your eye on them, all the time, unless you're a Missouri fan, obviously. But, when they start making those moves, you can't deny them. And, they do have a great staff, and they've got a great team coming back into this. And like you said, they had some big losses going into the draft and everything, and they lost some pretty key players. But hopefully that, they'll be able to come back and really roar to, back to life this season. What are your final thoughts on Missouri Tigers?
Yeah, so just kind of final thoughts on this team. What I'd like to see from the offense is just a little bit more pass production, because they only had a total of 9 touchdown passes in 10 games last year. So I got to see a little bit more production for the passing game. I think the running game's going to step up nicely this year. And as for the defense, you just got to create more turnovers. They only had 4 interceptions last year. You definitely got to get more than that. And with a secondary and a pass rush who's, trying to recoup, got a new defensive coordinator, I think they're going to get that. I think they're not going to have to worry about getting just 4 interceptions. I think they're going to get a few more. They might even double it and get 8. You never know. So I think that with a brand new kind of attitude, you got Connor, who had a good freshman year. Hopefully he can build off of that. And you have a great running core with Beatty and some other great receivers, and a defense who's trying to recoup with a loss of a few tough guys, but you do have the potential to be great. Like I said, if you're a Tigers fan, I think it's going to be a solid year. You're going to be above 500, and you're just going to keep building. And hopefully, like you said, Jeremiah, this team kind of comes out of nowhere sometime, because, I mean, they've been in SEC championship games before, and they could very well be on their way back to another one in just a few short years, I think.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Well, all of you Missouri Tiger fans watching, tell us what you think. What are you most excited about for this season? What are the things that are going to get the Tigers moving and get them grooving in the SEC? We love to hear from you. And if you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch, thank you so much. All the sharing you've been doing over to Facebook groups, to your friends and family, and just telling people about 100 Yards of Football has really, really helped us to grow so much this year. And if you're listening to us on our podcast, thank you so much. But if you're not, why don't you join us over there as well at 100 Yards of Football? We have an amazing podcast. We post every single day. We got new podcasts coming out. We can be there for your morning drive, your evening drive, or in the middle of the day when you're hanging out in your office. Now that everybody's back to work, it's great to have something to hang out and listen to some great football information. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, anywhere that you listen to podcasts. You can just look up 100 Yards of Football, and we are there for you. Now, one thing I would really suggest to our podcast listeners or our new podcast listeners, go back and listen to our old interviews. We have some really great classic interviews with some amazing players. We've also got some history specials. If you ever wanted to know like the most informative things about the 1968 Jets or the 82 Bears or stuff like that, Mr. Vincent Turner, our original founder and our amazing other host, he comes out with these incredible history specials. And I just highly encourage you, if you love football history, to listen to the incredible amount of detail and the incredible amount of passion that comes from these interviews. That's one of the best things that I love about our show. And it's one of the reasons that I go back and listen to our own podcast sometimes. So thank you so much for watching, and make sure to stay with us. We're about to come back with another live video.